Welcome to the Inspired Choices Network TV show. I'm your host, Christine McIver. We've got a great guest today. I have in studio with me Traci Trimble. So excited to have you here, Traci.
So excited to be here.
So Traci and I are going to be talking about bringing soul and ego into harmony. Yeah. I love that. So I'm going to talk about you a little bit. I'm going to read your bio. Okay, so Traci is a doctor of energy medicine and empowerment coach. As a metaphysician with a Ph.D. in energy psychology, Traci specializes in treating emotional trauma that causes acute stress, anxiety, and depression. She is an energy worker certified as a Usui
Teate.
Hey, I didn't do so bad. So that's a Reiki Master Teacher.
Correct.
And works as a bioenergetic therapist specializing in BETR Therapy, which is a bioenergetic emotional trauma release, a proprietary energy healing method. Her purpose is to share energy work, Reiki, Chakra Clearing BETR, classical Hatha Yoga and Meditation as a registered Natural Health Practitioner. As a teacher, she is in service to women and their families who are dedicated to creating and maintaining a conscious, spiritually based, positive mental attitude. Traci holds a Bachelor of Arts in Psychology, a Bachelor of Metaphysical Science, and received her Bachelor of Education. She holds a Master's degree in Metaphysics, a Doctorate in Energy Psychology, and is in the process of completing a Ph.D. in Metaphysical Counseling. Can't you do some things? Like, couldn't you accomplish a few more things?
Right?
Like, wow!
I have at least 40 more years, so the list will continue.
You are also a Reverend.
Yes.
With the non-denominational title of minister and is registered through the International Metaphysical Ministry out of the University of Sedona. Traci is passionate about teaching self-awareness and spiritual connection through ongoing personal and business development programs like Reiki, chakra balancing, discover your authentic self, learn the art of meditation, and conscious entrepreneur. Today, she is a soulpreneur in professional practice through her company True Path Consulting and Continuing Education located in Brooklyn, Ontario. Traci is also the radio show host on the Inspired Choices Network, and her show is called Soul Healing. Thank you. Welcome to the show, Traci.
Thank you for having me. This is a different experience for us doing this live.
That's right. We don't usually get to see each other.
That's right. That's
so
right.
Wonderful. Traci, I love to start with where you began. Where did you begin your journey? Were you born and raised in Ontario? Tell us about you.
I'm from small town Ontario, just outside of Belleville. Okay. I come from way too many kids, and I needed to get the heck out of Dodge as quickly as possible. And that's what I did. I went off to university. I got right on that corporate track, and I spent way too many years climbing the corporate ladder to wake up one day and realize that and it's a strong word, but I use it because it's so strong. I hated my life. I did not like myself. I didn't have anywhere to turn. I knew nothing about anything except that something was wrong with me. And I was just sick and tired of being sick and tired. And even back then, maybe 12, 15 years ago, there wasn't anywhere to turn. I went to the doctor and I said, I know there's something wrong with me. No, there's nothing wrong with you. I went to a specialist. No, there's nothing wrong with you. You get pretty tired of hearing there's nothing wrong with you when you know in the deepest parts of you that there is something wrong. And a 30-minute consultation with a psychologist, and I was diagnosed with clinical depression and was told I was going to be on meds for the rest of my life. I think I was 28 years old.
Oh my gosh.
For the rest of my life, and my people live a long time. It was going to be a lifetime. It was a life sentence.
Wow.
It was a life sentence.
So you started out in the corporate world. What were you doing in the corporate world?
I was executive in packaged goods. So I was, this is funny, I can say it now, I guess. I've never had a beer in my life, and I was selling beer around the world.
Wow.
And
so out of alignment with who you were.
Completely out of alignment, and no association at all that it was me that was the problem. It was everybody else. It was my ex-husband. It was my parents. It was society. It was my job. There was nothing wrong with me. So, you know, those little pieces of narcissism, they're like, you make it their fault. It worked for too long until I couldn't get out from underneath it.
Right. So what did that look like that you couldn't get out from underneath it? Were you isolating? Were you abusing anything?
Very fortunate for me. I wasn't abusing anything except for my own body. So for me, it was running. I would run 5 kilometers every day. I'd probably puke almost every time at the end, but I was 128 pounds. I looked good. I drove a great sports car. I lived in a beautiful home. I traveled wherever I wanted. So from the outside, it was perfect.
Oh.
And so the abuse was just making everything look perfect, and then crawl into my hole for 3 or 4 or 8 days anytime I could get some time off.
Wow.
Yeah, it was, there was no life in it.
So you literally had a mask in everything that you were being and doing.
I call it disillusionment. I was completely entrained in this story that had to be covered at all costs. All costs.
At all costs, and
Yeah.
you were the cost.
At the end, yeah, it was like, oh, I'm paying for this? Okay. It was a hard reality. There's a saying, something to the effect of, we just have to get out of our own way. But when you don't know you're the problem,
Yes.
you're never getting out of your own way.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so what was that point where you hit that wall? What was that wake-up call?
A culmination of the end of a marriage, of taking a job promotion that on paper should have been pretty awesome, and a doctor telling me that I was going to be drugs for the rest of my life. So that the culmination of all of that happening at the same time was the opportunity for me just to get out of the corporate world with no plan whatsoever. Like, I'm out. And
How scary was that?
well, it wasn't my choice. So
Oh.
it was more scary than I thought, because my entire identity came from the outrageous amount of money that I was making. And so when you don't know if that's coming, you don't know who you are. And I had no idea who I was. I just knew who I wanted to be in that illusion.
Right. That's interesting. You know, there's a number of people that I've taken different courses, and we talk about some of the greatest moments are those moments when you got yourself fired.
Yes.
Or you blew up a marriage. And it's like, you know, it's that push. We're so stuck in that illusion that we have to massively blow everything up in order to wake ourselves up.
Yeah.
And that was my awakening moment as well, was when I got myself fired.
Right.
And it was the best thing in the world.
Best. Yeah. For me, I can't do anything small. So a marriage terminating, a career terminating, a physical body terminating, and not that that's true. I was so fortunate that I didn't have any serious illness, but I didn't know that. Like, my body was telling me, this is it, you have a serious illness. And back then, no one talked about depression and anxiety, so I believe it was more serious because there was nowhere to turn, but my body was done. So everything all at one time just imploded and left me no choice. With my patients, I call it the velvet hammer. You're going to get pummeled, and you can make it look as pretty as you want, but it's coming.
Wow, you were some stubborn that you needed to do all three to wake you up.
I pretended also that that's because I'm an Aries, right? So that also was not my fault. It was my birth sign's fault.
Wow.
Like, it was so deeply embedded that nothing was my fault.
Isn't that interesting?
Very.
That is so funny. I talk about a time in my life where I was blaming my ex-husband.
Right.
Everything. And I physically was divorced, but stayed in that blame game for 13 years.
Right.
And I had an argument with somebody, and I couldn't fight with them. I think it was a client or something. Something triggered me. And I found myself walking over to the phone to pick up the phone and call my ex-husband, because I knew that I could fight with him in about
Right.
3 seconds.
Right.
And I could move through that energy, and then I could blame him.
Right.
And I can remember Traci holding the phone and going, oh my God, what are you doing?
Right.
And it was that moment where it was like, okay, what do I own in this?
Right.
So it does, we have to get to that moment, and sometimes it gets pretty crazy
Right.
before we'll wake up to that.
Right. Well, the fortunate thing for you is you came to it in your own awareness. I came to it through yoga and meditation. So in yoga, although I was extremely athletic and appeared to be in amazing physical shape, my body wouldn't do the simplest things that I asked it to do in yoga. And when I found my breath, I realized that I had spent most of my life breathing like this, talking like this, breathing like this, talking like this. And to do yoga, I had to learn to rebreathe. I'm 30 years old and I'm actually learning to breathe.
Wow.
And so for me, the realization came in when I listened to my body and my body responds, I actually don't have to have work to do. But the big thing in that is then it's on me.
Right.
And that's where yoga like literally said to me, at what point is this not all for you, because of you, or to you? And that was the beginning for me of a new language that now is the language I teach to my clients, my patients, my students.
It's interesting, you know, I've produced many of your radio shows and love them. And the one thing that I really, that for me in listening to you that was different from other hosts was the very ease, but the very methodical way that you speak and you breathe. And at first I was like, what is she doing? And you were so present when you're going through that. And it's so comforting. I can literally, when you're talking, I can feel my body change. And it's like, oh, I'm producing Traci. And everything just, I relax into myself.
Right.
It's so beautiful.
There's this really cool symptomology called entrainment. So if someone has a higher vibration, and please don't think that a lower vibration is good or bad or a high vibration is good or bad. Someone with a higher vibration is leading the entrainment process.
Okay.
So if I can deepen my breath, slow my voice down, make eye contact, you've just come into my vibration. So even if your vibration is everywhere, by coming into mine, there's a moment of comfort, and you match it.
That's beautiful.
And in that itself is a healing process, because then you're starting to hear that soul has a voice, but you're not fearing that ego is doing a job. Ego's job is to navigate the outside world so that soul can pick up all the really cool lessons and pieces. And we can't do that if we're going like this.
Yes.
We have to find this. And I don't know how, because it wasn't practiced or learned, but with my voice, I've realized I can train other people to their breath.
You do. You
Which
do
is
so well.
cool.
We're going to go for a quick break. When we get back with Traci Trimble, we're going to talk more about how she invites people in to bringing the soul and ego into harmony. Stay tuned. Have you thought about bringing your voice to the world? Are you looking to have a global platform that you can connect with? At Inspired Choices Network, we create an opportunity for you to bring your voice each and every week to a global platform. We support you, we train you, we bring your podcast out to more than 50 platforms. We are a network of building a community where we're bringing conscious voices to the world. If you're looking to have more of an opportunity, if you're looking to bring what you know to the world, do connect with us. You can contact us at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com, or you can send an email to becomingahost@inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. We'll have a conversation and we'll show you what truly is possible. Welcome back, everyone. Today I have in the studio with me Traci Trimble, and we're talking about bringing soul and ego into harmony. I really love the journey that you've shared with us so far and how you've come to being who you are. So how do you work with individuals around you in your practice?
I think first and foremost, I always want to be a teacher and a support person. One of the stern and very serious conversations that we have whenever I meet someone new is, I can't and I won't do your work for you, but I will hold your space to make it the best possible journey for you. So quite honestly, there isn't a textbook answer to your question, because it's absolutely different for every single individual. If someone comes to me and spirituality or God is a swear word, then we have to work on realizing that we are a piece of source. So if we think spirituality and God is a swear word, we're denying ourselves our truth. But if someone comes to me who has connected to their soul in the past and just needs some guidance, there's a big chasm in between. So everything I do is about teaching us to strengthen ego, so that we navigate the outside world with wisdom, with self-love, and with an awareness. But that we also know that there is a voice inside of us that knows exactly why we're here, and will, with every opportunity possible, be guided to exactly what we need. And sometimes that's not beautiful. We call it Poopyville. But
really?
Sunshine and roses isn't why we're here either. We're here to learn, we're here to share, we're here to grow. So if we're really ready to do those things, we're going to only be able to do it if soul and ego are in partnership. So if you can imagine, the human body is a vessel, a vehicle to get us from point A to point B, or from one lesson to the next. In our heart is where soul lives, asking for the vibration of what's next, what's next, what's next. But ego has to get us there through this, hairy, crazy social environment that we've created. So we have to know the difference between what society says we should be, do, and have versus what we're here for. And so I like to describe that as everything on this planet is happening to you, for you, or because of you. It's happening to you because it appears like you have absolutely no control and everything's just coming at you because you're in this cool but unfortunate space called unconscious incompetence. If you don't know that you don't know, then you don't know, and it feels like everything's happening to you.
That you're a victim.
Right. If you have the capacity to rise above that, out of unconscious incompetence into conscious incompetence, you realize that everything that's happening, every person, every place, everything is for you. And you have a choice. If you want the lesson from a velvet hammer, just deny it. It will come to you. But if you want it gently and lovingly and fully to your benefit, it's for you. Not everything that gets presented is for us. We have the right to choose to say yes, good, bad, beautiful, or ugly, to say no, good, bad, beautiful, or ugly. But some things happen because of us, because soul and ego are out of alignment. So we're triggered. And we get triggered by only one thing. I believe there are only two energies on this entire planet, love or fear. And we're triggered by fear, and we think it's a bad thing, but it's a gift. If we're fearful and we're triggered, it's a gigantic flashing sign that says, that's not the route to take. So if we go into fear, we go into one of two things, anger or worry. Anger triggers us back into the past. We get stuck there, and so we think what's happening right now is to us.
Right.
Or worry. We project way too far into the future. We absolutely alienate the present moment, and we get stuck there, thinking once again that it's happening to us.
Right.
So whenever I meet someone, especially when they come in for my 45-minute complimentary session, which I offer to absolutely everyone, my job is to explain to them the story of soul and ego, why it is that we chose to come here, what we came here for, and what our fear story is. So there is no one that leaves any appointment with me that doesn't know what the lies are that are controlling and compelling us because we've been triggered so many times to be our fear. So for me, my fear is disillusionment, shocking, vengeance, and blame. So for me, vengeance is, oh yeah, I'll show you. So in the past, I'd do anything to show you, well, maybe not too far long ago, but not today.
Not today.
In the past, I'd do anything to show you that I was right. But if I'm right, you had to be wrong. And so disillusionment, vengeance, and blame are my fear stories. Because I have done this work for 15 years doesn't mean I'm any different than anyone else. It means I'm probably 15 years ahead of someone who hasn't done this work. So if disillusionment, vengeance, or blame presents itself to me, I have a choice. I can follow it, go down the rabbit hole and destroy whatever I'm creating, or I can say, oh, no, thank you.
There you are again.
There you are again. But thank you, because you're showing me that I'm following ego.
Yes.
I haven't brought soul and ego working together to guide me to my highest good.
I love that. I want to know more, and hopefully maybe in your upcoming radio shows we'll know more about how to really work with the ego, to have it actually be a partner in creating forward. That's fantastic. So Traci, when people are working with you, do they always come in person to work with you, or do you ever do any online work with people?
Yeah, so individual work is done in person or online. I'm currently using Zoom. It's been extremely reliable for me. Anywhere between 45 minutes and an hour is a typical session. We need at least 3 days in between a session. Most of my group work is still live. We're in the process of putting Self-Mastery and Discover Authentic Self online.
Wonderful.
So this is my truth. I think energy work is exponentially more powerful from a distance because it isn't coming through me to you.
Okay.
My stuff isn't getting in its way. Okay. So doing something live means we get to be in each other's...
When you say live, you mean in person?
In person.
Yes.
So when we get to do something in person, we're sharing each other's energy, which I love. But when we do things from a distance, so online, you're not in my energy. So you're not confused by that calm feeling in the moment of being in my vibration.
So you see more of the truth of that person in that present moment.
And they get to see more of their truth too.
Fabulous. I have never heard someone really lay it out that way. And for most people, I've actually been told that they prefer people in person.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, when I first started to do my work with clients, everybody came in person. We didn't do the online. And I still have clients today that say they prefer in person.
Yeah.
That's really interesting.
So selfishly, I prefer in person because then I get to be with you.
Yes.
But I think it's exponentially more healing for you to do it at a distance.
That's fascinating information. So you have opportunities for people. What are some of the workshops and the sessions that you do in group?
So my favorite is called Self-Mastery. So what happens in your complimentary session with me is you receive your fear stories. Hopefully you opt to heal those because they were never yours, so we literally just take them and get rid of them. And then we do something called Discover Authentic Self. I literally sit with you for about an hour and we channel what your soul's contract is. So you know your fear story, don't go that direction. You know your love story, go that direction. There's nothing in between. You are either in alignment,
very simple,
or you're not. It's that simple. So once we have that information, Self-Mastery is my favorite program. It's a 12-week program. It's 3 hours once a week, and we go through the 12 most important areas that Western and Eastern science say are the areas that make us who we are. So our physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual well-being, our character, our intimate love relationship, parent-child, if you are a parent or a child, everyone's a child, social, career, finances, quality of life, and vision. And we spend 3 hours literally deprogramming your fear stories out of how you choose what's next and reprogram your love stories in. So at the end of those 12 weeks, you literally have a blueprint of who you want to be.
That's amazing.
And for me, I recommend it, but I don't push people because this may not be their learning style, but for me, the premise at the end is you have a checklist to hold yourself accountable to you. So every morning I say, okay, so today I'm going to be balance, I'm going to be passion, purposefulness, and abundance. I'm going to be peaceful, productive, and patient. I'm going to be kind and compassionate. I'm going to have integrity, and I'm going to be authentic, and I'm going to be honest. Not the easiest things to do, but that's my commitment. And all of that means I'm in service. I come home, I go to bed, and I say, okay, without judgment and criticism, were you those things today? Yes, yes, no. That no is tomorrow's priority. I'm not going to beat myself up about it. I'm not here to be perfect. I'm here to be Traci.
That's awesome.
And so self-mastery gives us all of that knowledge about ourselves. We know the good, the bad, the beautiful, the ugly, and we fall crazy in love with everything about ourselves.
Wow.
And that's my
You
job.
just pull everybody in. You're so passionate. You're so turned on about what you're doing, and I can tell.
I'm trying to stay in this seat.
I can tell that you've done your work.
Yeah.
And you can seriously see where people are at and guide them forward.
Yeah.
I feel like we could talk for hours.
I'm sure we
could. And
that's what the radio show's for.
Yeah, that's what the radio show's for. You can connect with Traci at tracitrimble.ca. You have there all of your services, where people can connect, where they can reach out, they can see upcoming opportunities to meet with you in person or online.
Exactly.
That's fantastic. Yes. And of course, they can connect with you on the Inspired Choices Network and check out all your shows and our past podcasts. Yeah. It's just fantastic. Thank you so much for the work that you're doing in the world. Thank you so much for bringing us in to what you've discovered. I mean, you really are a leader.
Thank you.
You really are. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you.
Oh, it's wonderful. Well, thank you everyone for joining us today. I know you're going to want to reach out and connect with Traci. She's an amazing, amazing woman who is really changing the world and inspiring people. Come back next week. We will have another inspiring guest for you to connect with. And until then, remember, you can always make another choice.